I'm really excited and absolutely honoured to be getting the chance to interview Halla today. The last time we were together online, Halla was interviewing me. So I'm loving the fact that the tables are turned and I get to now ask you some tricky questions, Halla. And also just to pick your amazing brain. One of my big focuses at the moment is purposeful leadership, and you absolutely embody that. And what I love is that as CEO of the B team and with your work with all the different global leaders, you are absolutely committed to business as a force for good. And it's something that I'm really committed to too. So you often talk about, though, that in trying to get that done, there is a crisis of conformity. And I just love to ask you, like, well, you know, what is that crisis? Why is it dangerous? And then let's end on a positive. Is there anything that we can do to overcome it?
Well, thanks, Holly, and thanks all of you for joining this important time, and Jean for your generous introduction. I wish it was true that nobody would say no to me, because then we could fix the world real quick, couldn't we? So I still have people who don't get it, that are stuck in the crisis of conformity. But so let's talk about that. We're at a time like no other in our lifetimes. One crisis has hit us on top of another, and there is absolutely no way that we can see or solve the problems with more of the same around the boardroom tables or in the C-suites of companies around the world. Women and people of color and all the people we already left behind because of climate and inequality and low trust and now COVID have been left further behind. And yet, what are the stats? 90% of Fortune 500 companies are led by white men. One Black woman leads a large global company. This is a crisis of conformity, and there is absolutely no way that we can innovate and transform everything, which is what this time calls for, unless we have the courage to change people around the key decision-making tables. And we have to do it fast. So at the P team, we are saying that if we want to get from this current reality that is very challenging on so many levels to this future where we can love where we live and work, we need to change who to change how. We need to change who is around the table to change how we lead. And so that's really our campaign, to call for really bold goals to reach gender balance and racial equity in C-suites and boardrooms by 2025. If we get leading companies to model that, and we have some that are already on the way, we stand a very good chance to see and solve the problems we're facing in a way that will make us deliver the global goals by 2030. Live in a world where shared prosperity and on a healthy planet is a reality. Because we did create this world, but we created it with sameness, and it's left us in a mess. So the only way we can get from here to there, to where I believe all of humanity wants to go on the back of all that we have experienced, is through innovation and transformation. And we need to change who's around the table to get there. That's what it's going to take to drive a reset. And that's the call of the day.
I love that, the change who to change how. It's such a simple statement, but would have such profound differences to businesses and governments around the world if they actually did it. And so I'm in the process at the moment of reading Adam Grant's book, Think Again. And it's a book about how we can get further in life by rethinking the skills that we think that we need as a leader and constantly learning. And Halla, the whole way through the book, you are the case study of how to be that effective leader, and you're the example of the skill sets that are needed as individuals. And as I'm reading the book, I just wish there was more people around me at the moment, because I wanted to shout out and be like, I know this lady and she really is like this, and she really is this amazing. But so I just want to get you to share your thoughts and your experiences about what does work, what doesn't work. What advice and calls to action would you provide to the people on this call today? And how do you think that we can all be the change that we want to see in the world?
Well, you're being entirely too kind, Holly, and so was Adam. But just for everyone to know, actually, the reason I'm in Adam's book is because I suffer from a terrible case of imposter thoughts, if not an imposter syndrome at times. So don't think that I have all the answers, number one, and think again about anything that I have to say. But do listen or read his book because it's excellent. I would really like to give 3 calls that are sort of directed at companies, and then maybe 5 calls that are directed at us as people. Because at the end of the day, it's people that change companies and people who change systems. So I'm going to focus on the people. But for companies, it is time to be 10 times bolder. This has to be the decade of action and accountability. And we need to set goals about changing who to change how, and disclose them transparently and be honest about our progress or lack thereof towards getting there. We also need to shift our minds. That's Adam Grant's book. We need to move away from this knower attitude to a learner attitude or mindset. We need to create learning cultures. This is not the time for anybody in leadership to show up thinking we have the answers, but it is the time to show up and create bold space to come together to seek the answers together. But that you need to change who is around those tables or in those rooms to do that adequately. And last but not least, I want all of you to really think about equity as a never-ending process. It's just like developing our muscles or developing our mindset. It takes commitment, attention, and practice, but we're never going to be there. There's endless opportunity to grow when we think about equity, just like it is when we think about leadership. But for you as individuals, I would really like to uplift 5 things. One, and I can't uplift it enough, there is a leader inside of every single one of us. And the most important work in life is to lend that leadership in service of a better world. And if we have ever needed it, now is the time. So who will we choose to be at this time is a very important question. Number 2, I advise everybody to befriend their imposter, because I've had to live with mine and have many conversations with the imposter who asked me when I was asked to run for president, who am I to run for office? So befriend your imposter, because one of the missing elements in leadership today too often is lack of humility. We have hubris in leadership all over the place. And hubris isn't bringing people along, isn't unlocking innovation or leadership in others. So humility is a good thing. So I think about my imposter as keeping my feet squarely on the ground, never getting too big-headed, and always knowing that I need to surround myself with people who are better than me, know more than me, or know other things than me. And so befriend your imposter and do not allow the question, who am I to do something about this, to enter the space. Ask yourself, who am I not to do something about a world that's this broken and needs all of us? Number 3, create your own moral compass. Make sure you can consult the work of others, and your company should have a compass that outlines its purpose and principles very clearly. But you should have your own, so that when things go crazy, when you're pushed to do things, that you know what is guiding your journey during some of the most uncertain and challenging times we've ever been through. We need to be resilient now. We need to be hopeful. We need to be stubborn optimists. And the only way we can do that is if we hold on to what is really authentically our truth. And so having a moral compass, going back to that for strength, is critical. And then the 4th step is really become. You may not want to run for president. I didn't even want to, but I did. I didn't become president. I was the runner-up, but I did become the president of my own life or of my own mind. Mindset may be more important now than skill set, or it may be the most important skill set. So make sure that you wake up during these times choosing who you're going to be. Going back to Desmond Tutu, who talked about being prisoner of hope being the only option. Being prisoner of fear, which many of us have been put in that position during this last year, is not going to help us feel optimistic. It's not going to help us feel energetic. It's not going to help us bring others along. So today is about waking up and choosing to be the president of our own mind and not letting media or other people that may drain us of energy, hope, and belief in the future get the best of us. The last thing, and this is really sort of a parting thought if we have run out of time, but ask yourself and ask everyone around you right now questions rather than bring them answers. Ask them 2 questions that are very critical right now. I started with the first one. Who will we choose to be, or who will you choose to be at a time like no other in our lifetime? And what will we choose to do at a time like this? Will we choose to change who, to change how, and come out of this having built the world we want? Or will we choose to stay on the sidelines and by that supporting the crisis of conformity that has gotten us to a pretty terrible place?
Wow, thank you so much, Halla. I've written down those points, the headlines, and I'll definitely have those by my bed at night to read before I'm going to sleep. So thank you so much for your time today. It's been so lovely chatting to you. It's really sad I didn't have hours to talk to you and pick your brain. I would have absolutely loved that, but hopefully next time.